While recording, I forgot to include a spoiler warning, so I just wanted to put that here. I will be spoiling the entirety of Deadpool and Wolverine, and I will be going through the plot point by point, so I recommend you watch the movie before watching this video. Hello, Ty Stone. This video is sponsored by Heineken and DiGiorno. Today we are going to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah. I just want to start off by saying this video is not going to be... I didn't really write a script. I wrote a bunch of bullet points. Every joke I sprinkle in here is going to be completely improvised. I just want to get this off my fucking chest so I don't have to think about it at all. But I am using my mic this time. Last night I watched my Scream review and I decided that instead of just staring at you guys this whole time, it's probably better to throw in some visuals like this one. So strap in. Before I begin, I want to tell you guys my top 3 favorite movies. Number 1, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then 2 and 3 are interchangeable. That's Deadpool and Deadpool 2. I love Deadpool. I was introduced to the character with the first movie, and he quickly became my favorite superhero. I began reading the comics, I played a lot of the games that he was in, and I just overall fell in love with the character. And I'm not one of those guys that's all like, oh, the movie sucks because it's not true to the comic book counterpart, because I obviously fell in love with the movie counterpart, and I love movies, and check this out. Shit, you can't even see it. Those are Deadpool underwear. God damn it. I don't think... You're not going to be able to see it. We're about to get intimate. Yeah! Let me tell you about something I don't love. Disney. I hate Disney. Disney ruined Star Wars. Disney ruined Mulan. Disney has since ruined the MCU. So when they bought Fox, which also included Deadpool, obviously, I was nervous. I thought, oh god, they're gonna ruin it. But after Disney said that they're gonna keep the R rating, I thought maybe, just maybe, it still might be good. What am I doing? What am I saying? Oh, it's gonna be a lot of editing. So, who did they go off and choose to direct Deadpool and Wolverine? And I may refer to it as Deadpool 3. I know a lot of people are like, this isn't supposed to be Deadpool 3. This is not Deadpool 3. This is blah, blah, blah. That's not relevant at all. I don't fucking care. Disney got Sean Levy to do it. And he directed such fantastic movies such as Just Married, A Night at the Museum, and Free Guy. I knew they would fuck it up. I knew they were gonna fuck it up. Disney fucks everything up. I hate Disney. Well, I didn't really know about Sean Levy until my friend started talking about how he was directing the movie. Because I didn't know the original 2 directors when I first watched them. What really showed me that this movie is probably going to be bad is actually the marketing of the movie. Because every trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine has been a typical trailer. There's nothing special about any of the trailers. They're just what you would expect out of a normal trailer. And a lot of people might think, okay. One of the things that I, however, loved about the first 2 films is how they were marketed. They weren't just trailers. They were like little sketches. They had a short film. Like, they did show off the movie a little bit in like traditional trailer format, but there was like stuff that wasn't in the movie in there. It was if Deadpool himself was marketing the movie. And it just didn't feel that way with this movie. It felt just like a normal ass marketing campaign. And that was like the first red flag to me. And then the movie came out, and then that was the second red flag. Before I want to get into the movie, I think it is important to note that the writer's strike was happening during the filming of this movie, so that very well could have and probably did affect the quality of this movie. So maybe it could have been a better movie if it wasn't caught between some Hollywood crossfire, but I don't think it would have been a good movie. The first thing that you could probably notice is that there are a bunch of people missing in this movie. There was a scene where it's like Wade's birthday, and there's like a bunch of familiar characters like Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Colossus, Vanessa, Blind Owl, Dopinder, but it was missing a lot of characters. Weasel, Domino, Russell, and Cable. And I know TJ Miller had like some problems previously working with Ryan Reynolds. They had like some sort of beef, and there was also some like allegations about something or another. I don't really know too much about it, but that could explain Weasel's absence. But Deadpool is a fourth wall breaking character. This is a very meta movie, so if they just had somebody else play Weasel and then address it like, oh, you look different, yeah, I just got a haircut, something stupid like that, they very well could have done that. So to just not acknowledge that Weasel was not present is just lazy. And also, Domino, Russell, Cable, they also weren't mentioned. They were just kind of like swept under the rug as if they didn't exist in the first place. And it really ticked me off when Wade said something like, oh, it's great to be in a room with everybody that I love. As if these four major characters that are supposedly a part of the family that he established are just gone. But who is there? Buck and Shatterstar, I think his name was. And like their names could have at least been mentioned, like, they're off doing something or another. And I know a lot of the reasons that it was said that they're not in the movie is there's like, oh, there's no real reason for them to be there. But like, it's not like Colossus or Negasonic or Yukio or any of the people in that room did much of anything. So there's no reason they couldn't have had them there amongst the crowd. Anyway, eventually Deadpool is abducted by the TVA. Apparently it's a Loki thing. Don't care. Earlier in the film, he had an interview to become an Avenger, and obviously he didn't get the job. And then now, when they're all like, yeah, you can be an Avenger, he's like, oh, that's all I've ever wanted. I want to be an Avenger. I love the MCU. And this just seems so horribly out of character. In the first movie, it's established that he doesn't want to be in the X-Men.
I've given Deadpool every chance to join us, but he'd rather act like a child. A heavily armed child. When will he grow up and see benefits of becoming X-Men?
In the second movie, it's clear that he doesn't want to be in the X-Men.
What am I supposed to do around here anyway? Sit in a share circle, talk about my feelings? No. I am not X-Men material at all.
In fact, he starts the X-Force. And it's just like he's never really been a team player. He's like a mercenary. He kills for money, and he was happy with that. And now all of a sudden he's sucking off the MCU. Now there's like this stupid joke that he's the Marvel Jesus, and he desperately wants to be an Avenger, and it's just terribly out of character for him. A better plot that they could have gone with had it been a completely different movie is Deadpool is forced to be in the MCU, even though he doesn't want to, but eventually he embraces it towards the end of the film for whatever reason. But it just seems so out of character for him to just desperately want to join the Disney franchise. And it's kind of explained that the reason he wants to do this is that he wants to matter and that he thinks it'll get him and Vanessa back. And that's right, Vanessa is no longer with him for some reason. And this also goes against Vanessa's character as well. I mean, both the characters were like so madly in love with each other. They were just happy with each other. Vanessa accepted him back at the end of Deadpool 1. They were going to have a child at the beginning of Deadpool 2. If this was a problem at all, it definitely would have arisen by now. But they kind of just like threw this in there for plot convenience. It's out of character for both of them. It makes no sense at all. And even if Deadpool became an Avenger, why is that like what reignites their love? Like if they were to break up, why is Deadpool becoming an Avenger the thing that gets them back together? That's not at all their dynamic. That's not at all what either of them were in it for. And we'll circle back to Vanessa towards the end of the video. But yeah, I just think they butchered the character of Deadpool and Vanessa, and they kind of just didn't really care about how the character would actually react. And it's all just for convenience. Anyway, then Deadpool gets like this new suit, and just a little nitpick. I just think it looks a little too cartoonish, but I suppose that's kind of the point. So it'll like fit in more with the other movies and Wolverine's suit, but I don't know. It kind of just bothers me. I much prefer like the realistic looking texture in the first two films. It's explained to Deadpool that his universe is going to end, and that's because Logan died, and apparently in his universe, Logan was the anchor man. Logan was the thing that was holding the universe together. Soon everybody in Deadpool's world is gonna, die. And so we're gonna circle back to this later, but it's important to note that Logan and Deadpool take place in the same universe. Deadpool decides he's gonna go find a new Wolverine to replace Logan so his universe doesn't die. And then there's a pretty cool montage going through different universes and finding different Wolverine, and this was admittedly a pretty cool scene. However, I'm going to take a moment to address another silly thing. As one of my friends pointed out after we've left the theater, is that during the fight scenes, none of it really stays consistent with like the fight scenes in the first two films. Like none of the action scenes have any actual weight because Deadpool doesn't react at all to any of the violence being directed towards him. In the first film, he gets a knife right in his head by Francis, and that of course makes him go delirious and delusional and kind of lose his fucking mind. This happens again in the second Deadpool film with something else, I forget, but Colossus carries him. And also in the first film, he gets his hand cut off, and that grows back into a little baby hand. And in the second film, he gets his torso ripped in half by Juggernaut, and his little legs. Deadpool is unkillable, but he can be slowed down significantly, and he can be hurt. However, in these fight scenes, it just never seems like it matters at all. He takes countless hits to the head, he gets fucking sliced up by several Wolverines, and nothing happens. It makes a lot of the action in the movie just boring, and it would be a lot more entertaining if the fight scenes actually held any weight at all. And I'm going to hold on to this point also towards the end of the video. Eventually, he finds the Wolverine that we will hold on to for the rest of the movie. And this scene made really no sense. You can see Wolverine drinking, and then the bartender is like, "All right, I told you to leave." And he's like, "Just one more." And he's like, "Well, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere." And this makes no sense, because he was already drinking to begin with. If he wasn't welcome there, why was he welcomed in the first place? Like, why is he at this bar right now? And we later find out that the reason Wolverine is hated is because he went on a massacre and killed a bunch of people. And if that's what he did, why isn't he, like, in jail? Or, like, why isn't he being hunted? Why is it just, like, he's no longer allowed in bars anymore? It just seems poorly thought out. Anyway, Deadpool brings Wolverine back to Paradox, which is, I don't know, I didn't mention this guy. He's the TVA guy that was telling Deadpool all this stuff, and he's, I don't know, one of the main bad guys. He's really unremarkable in every way, and his name is stupid. Anyway, Deadpool brings Paradox to Wolverine, and then Paradox sends him to this place called the Void, which is where all the Marvel rejects go. This is where we see Human Torch and Toad and Sabretooth all for just like a little while, kind of just like, look at all these characters, aren't they cool? But none of them really matter at all. I like Human Torch's inclusion. I think Sabretooth's scene was a waste of time. It wasn't cool at all. It was over quick, and I don't know. It was not necessary. If they were going to do it, they should have done it. If Sabretooth was going to be a part of this, he should have been a part of it. But moving on. Before we got into the movie, I jokingly said to Ty Stone, "Oh, I hope they have Juggernaut in this movie. We haven't seen him in a while." As a joke, right? Juggernaut's in this movie. Not the Juggernaut in the last movie, but like one of the cheap ones. One of the Marvel reject Juggernauts. I just think it's redundant, but it doesn't matter. Well, I mean, they needed him for plot convenience and stuff, so there he was. This is where we meet the villain. I believe her name was Cassandra Nova. I'm gonna call her Baldy. And she's pretty OP. Kills the Human Torch with the flick of her fingers. Kicked Wolverine and Deadpool's ass. Their conjoined ass. And then a big cloud comes and everybody runs, and she kind of just lets them get away. And I'll circle back to this as well. This is where like the movie just starts to feel like a road trip movie, where the characters aren't really like going for something. They're not actively in pursuit of anything in particular. They're kind of just walking down the road, and stuff is just happening to them. It's not like this happens, therefore this happens, but this happens, therefore this happens. It's just this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And it's just lazy writing. Deadpool also makes some jokes about the woke mob and cancel culture, which just seems so terribly out of place and so cringy. He also makes like he tried to uses like a lot of hip language. I forget when exactly it was, but he was all like, "Let him cook," or something along those lines. There was also a scene where where somebody said something about Canada, and he said, "Keep my country's name out of your fucking mouth." It's just cringe. It's just awful. I don't have much to say about it. It's just bad. And in terms of like using like slang, like cook, in the first film, it is like hammered in that Deadpool is old.
Ripley from Alien 3.
Fuck, you're old.
It just doesn't seem like this movie respects the character that was set up in the last two films at all. Then it's revealed that there's like Blade and Elektra and Gambit from like the shittier movies, and they're like, "What's up? We're here too." Blade is iconic. Gambit has a silly accent, which is the entirety of the jokes surrounding him. Elektra's just there. I mean, honestly, we already have like an Elektra in the MCU. The Daredevil show had an Elektra, so it's not like we're missing her character too bad. I think what would have been better right here, instead of Elektra, would be Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider. And usually this is not something I hold against the movie, but considering that they had so many other characters in this movie like that, I am going to hold it against this movie. Because that would have been one of very few things that redeem this movie. And then we see X-23, or Laura from Logan. And this makes no goddamn sense at all. As I said before, Logan and Deadpool are in the same universe. And Deadpool's universe is not dead, it's dying. That's the whole point of the movie, is Deadpool trying to save his universe. So, if that universe is still around, why is X-23 in the void? Her universe is still around. She should still be there. Did the TVA just track her down and put her in the void for fuck knows why? And if that is the case, they like worship Logan, the ending of Logan, like, oh, he's such a hero, oh, what a sacrifice. But you're gonna put the thing that he sacrificed his life for in the void? She's there for fan service. That's all. There's no logical explanation for her to be here. They break their own rules and act like nobody's gonna notice. Anyway, all the characters hop in a car and go fuck shit up, and it's kind of like Endgame for old people. And how do you stop an OP villain? Well, first you talk to them, and then you put a helmet on their head. And it just seems so stupid that, like, Baldy is so overpowered. She can easily kill Wolverine and Deadpool. She already let them go once, and with the like that, they're dead. But instead of, killing them when she could have multiple times, she just kind of lets them dupe her like this. Anyway, they get the helmet on her head, which again doesn't really make sense, but they do. And she's like, well, if you let me go, I'm going to kill you, and if you kill me, then you're not going to be able to get home. And it's like an interesting impasse. They had something going there, but then Wolverine's like, no, let her go. And then they do. And then she doesn't kill them. So, big fucking whoop, huh? The reason she doesn't kill them is because she's like, oh, my brother loved you. And he's like, yeah, and he would have loved you too, and he would have brought you home if he could. And then she's like, this is my home. And then Wolverine's like, well, let me save his. And then she does. She opens up a portal with one of those Doctor Strange rings and lets Wolverine and Deadpool go. But then she proceeds to try and end the world. Then she proceeds to try and destroy the same world that the only reason she let them go was to save the world. So it makes no fucking sense at all. She could have killed them at any point in time, but for the sake of plot convenience, she just doesn't. She just lets them win. She's not a character. She's a plot tool. It's like, how does nobody see this in, like, the writing room? Like, when they're going to, like, what, nobody points this shit out? Or they just think we're all fucking stupid? And apparently we are, alright? This movie is getting praised left and right. Then, shortly after that, there's a whole fan service scene where it's the Deadpool Corp. It's like a bunch of the variations of Deadpools coming out of the portal. And in the comics, their whole deal was like, well, there was like two sides of it, and like one was like, oh, we're gonna, I don't know too much about it, but one of them was good, and then one of them was evil, and the evil people were like, we're gonna kill every Wade Wilson, every Deadpool in the universe. Anyway, I guess that's the route that they went with in this movie. We're like, oh, these Deadpools just want to kill all Deadpools. And I think it's silly. I think this is a movie within itself that they kind of just shoved in here so that the audience could gasp. But they didn't really know how to deal with this. They wanted to introduce this concept, but they didn't want to have to deal with the consequences of it. You have an army of Deadpools, and one Deadpool and Wolverine are able to just shred through them as if they weren't, like, equally as strong. And then after that, it's pointed out that they all have healing factors, which is obviously a given, and they all come back up. So then, because obviously they do, obviously the writer, director, who fucking cares, was all like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen, we can't trick them that hard. So what do when you want this scene to happen, but you don't want to deal with the consequences of it? Well, Peter comes to save the day, and all the Deadpools are all like, Peter, we love Peter, everybody, let's go hang out with Peter. And that's it. And it's played off as this big fucking joke, and it sucks. It sucks so hard. Because the Deadpool Corps, their whole deal is they want to kill all the Deadpools, and they are like so close. They are so close to their goal. It's that typical movie thing where it's like very last millisecond is the day saved. So like, if they stayed installed for a little bit longer, their goal would have been met. The extermination of all Deadpools. The exterminations of all Deadpools and all Peters in the universe, which apparently is a thing that they shoehorned into this movie. it makes no fucking sense at all. And again, it's just because they needed a reason to solve the problem that they created. They wanted people to gasp. They wanted to show all these different variations of Deadpool so that people would be all like, oh, I know this one. Instead of, saving that for a later movie, perhaps. Anyway, then Paradox explains to Deadpool and Wolverine that the way they stop Baldy is simply to hold one end of a thing to another thing, but oh my god, you're gonna die if you do it. You're gonna be erased from existence. So there's like some antimatter hullabaloo, I don't know, but what ends up happening is obviously Deadpool and Wolverine do it together and they hold each other's hands, and for some reason they don't die. I don't understand how that works. I don't think it does work. I don't think it's not explained at all how they survive. They just do. And obviously you knew they're not going to die, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to waste my breath trying to figure this one out. I just think it's stupid. Anyway, after that's resolved, Deadpool's all like, hey, can you fix Wolverine's timeline? And they're like, no. And Wolverine's like, darn, okay. And then Deadpool's like, oh, hey, there were some people in the Void that helped us out. Could you maybe, I don't know, like, bring them out of the Void and then put them into a foreign timeline? And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll see what I can do. Easy. And that's the end of the movie. What a dumpster fire. So, Ryan Reynolds has been quoted saying this, and I'm going to pull it up here. So he says this after Deadpool 2 was released. He says, I don't know that there would be a Deadpool 3. I really don't. I feel like the character, in order for him to function properly within his own universe, you need to take everything away from him. I don't think that you can keep doing that. And while I disagree with Ryan saying that you can't keep doing that, I think you can always find a way to torture your characters. I do wholeheartedly agree with the fact that you have to take something away from Deadpool in order for him to have a motive, like keep the character going. And in the first two movies, that was Vanessa. Obviously, he had cancer and he didn't want to subject Vanessa through that, so he goes behind her back, he fucks it all up, he's afraid to confront her, and that's his motivation throughout the movie. Well, that and revenge. And in the second film, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, Vanessa dies, so he's depressed, and he doesn't really have a motivation anymore, but Vanessa speaks to him from beyond the grave and says some cryptic shit, and then it sends him on a whole thing where he's like, okay, I gotta pick myself up, there's something to live for, and you have to break the character in order for him to have a movie, and that's just not what this movie is at all. Obviously, they flattened Vanessa's character out to where and Vanessa's character has been just like flattened, so there's really Deadpool doesn't have any core motivation in this movie. So there's no like emotional weight in this movie. And that brings me to my next point. Nothing in this movie feels earned. There's not a single moment in this movie that deserves any like reaction. It doesn't pull any of the heartstrings. Even when the characters are like, oh, this is sad, this is a happy moment, I don't feel anything. There's just nothing, there's no foundation. Every corner is cut, every scene is contrived for fan service, and the movie just tries to build stuff up very sloppily, and it just doesn't work. This movie just starts, happens, finishes. There's nothing to ground the movie in anything, and it doesn't hold any emotional weight at all, and it's very unlike the first two films in that way. The first two films do a very good job at being entertaining and funny, and have Deadpool's self-awareness without sacrificing the plot or the characters, and this just doesn't feel like a Deadpool movie. This feels like a Disney movie. And maybe and hopefully this is just like a Shrek 3. It's like the third movie is really bad and then the fourth movie will be okay. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I forgot how much fun this was, and by fun I mean not at all, but I like to do it, and I think I'm going to upload more often. Which I say right now, and probably won't. But if I happen to do that, if I happen to do what I just said a moment ago, I don't know where I'm going with this. I might upload more. That's what I'm trying to say. I might not. Who knows? Bye. Okay, I don't know how to end these. I never know how to end these. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it.